Well, hi again, everyone. Well, welcome to UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch, and as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course.
You know where is Tom? You know where New Hampshire is?
I'm so transfixed with the crib behind Mike.
Good one.
That's where I go when I misbehave. They put me in the
Oh,
crib.
there you go. That's your timeout space.
Yeah, right after a spanking.
That's right. Well, sometimes you have to pay extra for that.
And we're also brought to you by George Gray's Lexington Toyota, the big wheeler column, George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Well, we got one of the all-time greats right here this morning, a good friend of all of ours, worked with Lobel at BZ, the great Tom Bergeron. And I'm just going to let Lobel, because he gets cranky, Tom, if he doesn't jump in the first 30 seconds. So Lobel's going to take over the intro from here.
Yeah, well, I don't know where to start with Bergeron, but you know what? Maybe North Essex Community College Wolverines would be a good place to start.
You know, I was taking courses at Northern Essex College because my boss at WHAV in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and I started working there while in high school. And so I was going to go to Emerson College to get a degree in broadcasting and then try to get a radio job. But I already had a radio job. So I decided not to go to Emerson. And my boss threatened to fire me unless I went to college. So I went to Northern Essex and took theater courses and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going over the Bergeron history, and I said, did he go to college? Was this like one of those anomalies? He went right from high school to fame. Did he go to college? Yeah, well, I know. Let's not get carried away. But I go back to New Hampshire Public Broadcasting and WHEB in Portsmouth. I was probably in GIR in Manchester.
That's right. That's right.
And so we have a lot of close connections. But that was, public broadcasting, and then down to BZ, and people are talking. I was really interested in Lynch, you jump in anytime, unless you want to go back into the crib. Who were the hosts of
I'm
People Are
enjoying this
Talking?
on memory lane.
Oh, good. Oh, me too. I'm just learning. Who are the
You
hosts?
run, Lobel. Tom had you, me, and John Dennis on People Are Talking one day.
That's right.
We were sitting there with this live studio audience, and
Must have been a slow day for entertainment.
I have to say, Bob, I often credit you. When I got to BZ, I was doing a weekend kid show called Super Kids, and we were talking, and you said to me, and these words really resonated. You said, "You've got your foot in the door. Whatever they ask you to do it." And that really was how I modeled my career, not only at BZ, but pretty much anywhere else. But at BZ, I hosted daytime programming on 4 Today. I did the lottery drawings at night.
I know, that's so cool. That was so cool.
Yeah. And it was interesting because when I got the lottery gig, I thought, okay, this could go one or two ways. And the only thing I thought was it's going to be great for visibility. And if I can somehow make it my own personality, so I started calling it On the Air as the Wheels Turn. And on the Megabucks drawing, I was wearing the Mega Tux. So, whatever I could do to kind of juice it up. But your words to me really resonated throughout my time in Boston.
Well, I wish I'd have paid more attention to it myself.
Look, you get your foot in the door, and then they asked you to do sports. I said, sure, I don't know anything about sports, but I'll do it anyway.
One step closer to Storo Drive was the best thing I could. Tommy, who were the hosts before you on People Are Talking?
Well, the original, of course, Sonia Hamlin, who I think passed last year, she had the original talk show as far as my memory goes. It wasn't called People Are Talking then. The first People Are Talking host was Nancy Merrill. And then there was Buzz Luttrell and Jan Jones, and then she left pretty quickly. And Buzz did it for a couple years, and then I took it over in 87 until 93.
Yeah, I know you were really upset with me one day. You may not remember this, but you may remember this. Well, of course, you're the kind of guy that remembers everything, good, bad, or indifferent. I brought a class in from Gardner, Massachusetts, to stand around and look at the show. They were behind, and you didn't. I think you were taken by surprise, and it really, whether it disrupted your I thought you were really upset with me. You don't remember this, right? Tell me you
No, I
don't.
don't. Was it People Are Talking?
I think it was. I don't know what
Well,
else.
I would have been happy to have warm bodies in the studio, I would think. It was hard to get audiences out to Soldiers Field Road sometimes.
Well, okay. Well, as long as you haven't held that grudge for this long.
No,
Okay,
not at
well,
all.
I apologize for that, belatedly, but
Well, you give me too much credit for memory, Bob. I'm at the point where I'm hiding my own Easter eggs.
Tommy, you had so much great success, and I guess I'd have to describe it as hosting competition shows. I mean, that's basically, the genre besides stealing Sports Spotlight and running it on America's Funniest Videos. That's right. I've forgiven you. That's right. But I'm just saying, you hosting competition shows has really been your genre.
Well, kind of. I mean, everything from, although Vin DeBona, I have to just say as a sidebar, might take issue with whether we stole Sports Spotlight. He started that show with Bob Saget back in '89. Well, that's right. Sports Spotlight predated that, didn't it?
It's all right. It's okay. You
Okay. All right.
No, obviously.
Okay. Anyway, yes, the competition shows, particularly Dancing with the Stars, of course, which for me was a wonderful hybrid of the old kind of variety shows that I grew up watching, Carol Burnett and all of those ilk, and then also a modern reality spin as well. And so that was a fine 15 years of my life right there.
Yeah, I would say.
I was a big Dancing with the Stars fan. It was on ABC, which
I didn't
Channel
know
5
that.
was. And every year I do a Thanksgiving show with Maddie Siegel. And
Oh, yeah.
Billy Costa would come on and goes, well, they had the finals last night of Dancing with the Star. And I'd say, well, the so-and-so didn't like the winner, but the winners were this person and that person. And Maddie was stunned. He goes, you watch Dancing with the Stars? I go, they're some of the best athletes on television. They're better athletes than most of the people that we report on every single night. And you really ought to check it out. It's pretty good. So I was into, Derek Hough.
Yeah.
But they were fantastic. But what does a typical week entail in Dancing with the Stars?
Well, this is gonna. You mean for me or for the?
For you and the competitors.
Well, I'll tell you what a typical week was for me, and it's gonna blow the theory that I had a hard working life. I would show up on Fridays, the Friday before the show, and be there for a production meeting and a liquid lunch, and then on Monday I'd show up at about 9th at show day. I'd show up at about 9:30. We'd have a sort of a script meeting in my dressing room, the producers and my co-host, usually Aaron Andrews or Brooke Burke. And we do a dress rehearsal at about 1:00 in the afternoon. And then we went live to the East Coast at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And by 7:15, I was over at the Grove having another adult beverage. So that was my grueling week. And that would be it until the following Friday. Yeah. Sometimes in the early years, to be fair, we also had a result show on Tuesday. So I had 2.5 grueling days of work every week.
With Aaron Andrews, that's grueling.
Yeah, it was tough. Well, Aaron and Brooke, Samantha Harris before her. Yeah, these were the crosses I bore, Mike.
Is that why you wrote the book, Zen and the Art of Sitting?
What about some of the celebrities that you? And I'll pick out 2 that were Boston connection. You had Flutie and Nancy Kerrigan, right?
Yeah, also Victoria Arlen, who's up from New Hampshire too. Yeah, Nancy. It was great to see Nancy again because I hadn't seen her since my BZ days. And Flutie, our paths had never crossed. So, and I remember, I think I was doing People Are Talking around the time of the famed Hail Mary pass. So, Flutie was a real treat to finally meet on the show. What were you saying, Bob?
I was saying that obviously the things you talked about were the reasons you wrote the book Zen and Staying Sane in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm hosting as fast as I can, and the subtitle is Zen and the Art of Staying Sane in Hollywood. And I mention you in the book. That very story I told about your
Wow.
advice to me when I started at BZ. So
You know what?
you're in-
My copy must have been lost in the mail, Tom.
I'll make sure you get one.
You know,
Well, there's an audio book too, so you can hear me prattle on for 6.5 hours.
oh, this would be great. My next trip down to North Carolina,
There you go.
I'll plug it in.
Also, speaking of audiobooks, because everything's a segue in broadcasting, I just finished doing Dick Van Dyke's audiobook for his 100th birthday, 100 Rules for Living to 100. And that'll be out in November, along with obviously the hard copy and a lot of celebrations of Dick's upcoming December birthday. So you got an audiobook to get you down there and an audiobook to get you back home.
Well, perfect. It's actually South Carolina, so I hope it's the extended version.
Yeah.
So, Dancing with the Stars and the other competition shows that you did really kind of were forerunners of Simon Cowell and all the America's Got Talent, and explain how this whole thing.
Yeah, dancing was around the time that American Idol popped, which was I think and Survivor, of course, kind of predated both of our shows.
Oh, right.
I was doing Hollywood Squares when Survivor blew up, and we had 1 week of shows with the original contestants from Survivor. And I remember Whoopi Goldberg was the center square and one of the executive producers. And I had been watching Survivor, but she hadn't been. And so when I said, "Oh, I'm looking forward to our taping," because we would do 5 shows in a day. So I said, "I'm looking forward to our taping next week with the Survivor contestants." And Whoopi went, "What the hell is that?" So I had to explain exactly what Survivor was, but that sort of was the precursor. And then American Idol came along, Dancing with the Stars. America's Got Talent. I think X Factor came and went pretty quickly. It was a bigger hit in England. But a lot of those shows made it annoying to some actors in town who thought we reality people were taking over all of their real estate in prime time, all the episodic shows, because reality shows were cheaper to produce. And so I was at some industry function, and some actor came up and said, "A lot of us are really upset at you for taking away our prime time hours." And I said to him, "You don't hear us hosts bitching that you always took away our time."
Of all the things at the level of Hollywood Squares and Dancing with the Stars and those shows, what was your favorite? And I mean, of all those competition shows that were involved, you can go right back to Granite State.
Granite State Challenge. Thank God the answers were on the cards, because that was like a college bowl at New Hampshire Public TV. I hosted the first season of it, and it's still going strong, by the way. But I would say to the producer, these high school kids are so smart. If I didn't have the answers on the cards, they would smoke me. But in terms of favorite moments, it's really not so much shows, but individual moments from shows. Like on Hollywood Squares, when Peter Marshall, who was the original host of the original Hollywood Squares back in the 60s up to about 1980, he was the center square 1 week. And it was really important to me that we swap, that he regain the podium and host the show, and I would just sit in the center square like the kid from Haverhill and just kind of watch and kind of dig it. And we did that. So that was a big one. Running into, of all people, Muhammad Ali.
Oh my God, the greatest, huh?
Yeah. And we're on the same flight from LA to New York, and he's sitting right across from me. Right. And I'm thinking, I got to say something. And the Parkinson's at that point, while obvious, he was still mobile, and he wasn't terribly talkative, but he was sketching a a picture to kind of help with his mobility. So at about, I don't know, an hour out, I thought, I'll never get another chance like this. So I turned, and he must have anticipated that I was going to say something, because he had his fists up and he was staring at me, and he said, "I really like your show." And he loved Squares and also America's Funniest Videos at that time. And he signed and gave me the picture that he had been drawing, which I have here at the house somewhere, or in LA. I keep it in a safe. I haven't even framed it yet. And so when Layla Ali did Dancing with the Stars years later, and I related that story to her, I said, yeah, he was drawing a picture. And she said, did he do the sailing ships or the fighter jets? Because he always would alternate between those two. And I said, oh, Layla, it was the fighting jets. He goes, oh, yeah, well, hang on to that one.
That's so cool. That is really a great story. Now,
oh, my God.
Talk about memorabilia. I mean, talk
yes.
about, of all the things you saved, there's some special things. That's got to be right there at the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So much so that I haven't taken that out of the safe.
Better look and say it's still there. Your kids your daughters will be taking it.
That's true. They do have the combination.
When these celebrities came in, I'm going to try to keep it to professional athletes or Olympic athletes. Who impressed you the most with their ability as well as their personality?
Well, the first one that comes to mind always is Emmett Smith from season 3, I think, of Dancing. And that was a season when Mario Lopez, an actor and host, was really just kind of tearing up the dance floor, and everybody thought he's going to be the winner. And Emmett just kept, getting better and better every week. And the two of us were in an elevator together, just the two of us at Television City in Hollywood, where we shot the show. And I said to him, Emmett, it's, I think Mario's nervous because you just seem to be completely at ease and you're just gaining momentum. And he held up his Super Bowl ring in my face and said, I've had pressure before. I said, oh, yeah, I guess that's probably true.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It was one show we haven't talked about was America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
So do they just say, here are the videos, or do you have a say in it and you say, this isn't funny, or this really sucks,
That would occasionally happen. But, the nice thing about a little backstory on the video show, it is the executive producer, Vin DeBona, is another alumnus of WBZ. He was at BZ TV probably before both Bob and myself. And I was back in Boston hosting the New England Emmy Awards one year. This would have been probably 2000. And it wasn't televised. It was just sort of a fancy dinner. And Vin was getting a Career Achievement Award. And I was doing my typical no script, ad-libbing my way through it, to which his now late mother leaned over to him and said, you should hire this guy. Probably didn't say it in as low a voice as I just did, but that I actually got offered the AFV job at that dinner in Boston at the New England Emmy Awards. And but to your question, Mike, typically they would have already picked all the videos. On those rare occasions that I would voice a concern about something, it was usually if somebody took a pretty hard fall, off a trampoline or after getting a piñata stick in the bollocks. And I said, I didn't see even a twitch after the guy hit the ground. So we really need to know that he's still alive. And there was one of a couple of kids fighting and one kid pushed the other one down some carpeted stairs. But I thought, yeah, we don't want that. But essentially, I'd get the DVD with the videos sent to me. We were in Connecticut at the time when the girls were going to school there. And we would watch, we'd make popcorn and I'd have a daughter on either side of me and we'd watch the videos. And that was before I did any of the narration or anything like that. And my oldest daughter, Jessie, said to me at one point, this is our favorite part. And I said, well, this is the part where I'm not even really involved at all. And she said, we know. Nothing like kids to keep you humble.
Absolutely. Where was the source of the videos? People just
Oh,
sent
all
them in?
over.
All over.
Yeah, all over. Yeah. They, in the early days when it was VHS tapes, when Bob was doing it, when Saget was doing it, they would get, of course, the show blew up back in 89 and 90. They would get sacks of these VHS tapes, and these poor staff members have to go through all those things and watch everything and decide which is likely to be airable. Some of them weren't.
And you charged for video for showing those?
Yeah, that's sort of the in-house party tape. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
The NC-17 version of AFE.
That would be exciting. Well, what do we have today? Let's check this
Yeah.
out.
Oh, look at that. It's the
Right.
Kama Sutra on a trampoline.
Now this is not restricted to sports. Celebrities on Dancing with the Stars. Who really just blew you away with their personality and with their athleticism and dancing ability of the celebrities? All the ringers are great dancers.
Yeah. A lot of the time it wasn't that they had all of those elements in one package. It was sometimes my feeling about, I wonder what this person's going to be like, and then being totally won over by them. Jerry Springer comes to mind. That was in one of the earlier seasons, and I remember I only knew him from his talk show, which was people fighting and screaming at each other and all this. So I thought when they booked him, I thought, really? He turned out to be such a mensch, such a sweetheart. The reason he decided to do the show was so he could learn to dance for his daughter's wedding.
Really?
And and we became good buddies. I even ended up doing the Jerry Springer show a few years later when they were shooting in Connecticut. I stopped over to judge a rather violent dance competition.
How about your judges, Len? Who's got? Is it Bruno Extensive? Goes, you have got.
Yeah, Bruno gets very theatrical to the point that I said to him on air one time, "You're about one gesture away from living at Pixar." But Len I adored him, and he was sort of the anchor of the judges' table in so many ways, and he had just this wonderful gravitas about him, that sense of authority from all the years he was a professional ballroom dancer. So whenever a couple got a 10 from him, I think it meant a lot more than from Bruno or Carrie Ann, although they valued those too. But Len sometimes would get very, he was always honest about his criticism. Sometimes he'd ratchet up the crotchety for television. And then we'd cut to a commercial. He'd call me over and go, "That was good, right?" But I adored him. I did.
I always wondered because he was very harsh critic, and
Yeah.
someone probably gave the performance of their life, especially the celebrities, and probably thought that maybe they're going to slide in with an 8 or something, and he gives them like a 6. And the commercial break, does ever turn around and say, "Yeah, fam, I did a much better job than that."
No, well, you'd have upset celebrities and pros and all that, but their scores were really what they genuinely felt about the dance for whatever reason. If there was that kind of discrepancy, if somebody thought they gave a dance that deserved a 9 and Len gave it a 6, he would have told them why before the paddle was raised. He would have told them what technique he thought that they were deficient in or something like that. He never just arbitrarily would throw a number up. He always kind of laid the foundation for it before it actually occurred. But yeah, you'd get, and interestingly, I always found sports contestants were the best because they're used to being coached. They're used to being in a team situation. They tend not to have, in a general sense, so many yes people around them. A lot of the showbiz folks have, people whose livelihood depends on them, kissing up to whoever their boss is. so they weren't used to being
That sounds
critiqued.
fairly familiar to this day and age.
Yeah, doesn't it though?
Okay.
Watch a cabinet meeting.
Right.
Yeah, the Brown Nose Hall of Fame.
Right,
But
right.
so you'd get these sort of
Pete Hesketh, the star of Life of a Showgirl. Pete Hesketh.
Yeah.
Okay, shut up. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
I know that's a whole other podcast. Right. I got to
But
lock my
really,
doors
the sports.
right.
Yeah, the sports celebrities were usually not only the best participants, but also the most into it, I think, in terms of the whole experience. I can't remember who it was. It was an NFL star, and I'm blanking on who it was. But after the dance, when they would come over to me, he was really winded. He was like almost leaning over. And I said, I'm surprised you're as winded as you are. He goes, we don't run 90-second plays in the NFL.
Was it Lynn Swan or Jerry Rice, maybe?
Oh, Jerry. I don't think it was Jerry. Jerry, by the way, one of my favorites in that, because he participated in an early season, but he would come back and do our version of Sports Center during the result shows on Tuesday nights. And Jerry just camped it up more and more every time he and Len would do it. By the end, he would have like glitter on his face and just, these incredible, he had no shame at all about going for complete kitsch on the show. He was great. He was great. I hope he makes it back for they're doing an anniversary show, I think in November. And I may be traveling. I'll at least send a nice video, but I hope some of those people that I've been mentioning manage to get back in person.
Timing's everything. I think if it were today, Belichick and his girlfriend would have been right there front and center.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised they haven't booked her already. Just to have him sitting in the sidelines. Yeah.
I was kind of thinking
the Holiday Inn for a Miss Maine pageant. You can only go up from there. On a Sunday night in Portland, Maine, at a Holiday Inn, she was in a beauty pageant, and Belichick went and sat in the front row.
Really?
Yeah, Miss Maine. It was the Miss Maine pageant.
Just recently?
Yeah, she finished third.
She finished third.
Yeah, right. I know. Well,
yeah. Anyway. How's Bill doing? Is he just smiling ear to ear all the time, or what's going on?
He's losing like crazy and winning at the same time.
Yep.
He's on a different plateau now than he was when he was here. How many coaches have their girlfriend come down on the bench on the sideline before a game and give him a hug and a kiss? I mean, he'd fire somebody if that ever happened.
Yeah. It's an interesting chapter in his story, to say the least. Yeah. To be as diplomatic as possible.
Good. Well, that's this ad lib talent that you have, and I think that is such a great way of expressing yourself on television. And I know you did a lot of transcendental meditation, which is something that those are two words that aren't put together now in any way, shape, or form. You'd have to say, what is transcendental meditation? Well, it was a big deal back when
with the Beatles, right? And the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and all that. I meditated this morning, as a matter of fact. I do it every day, and I have for over 40, probably close to 45 years now, despite the fact I'm only 46. The hair notwithstanding. Yeah. But yeah, I find it, and to me, and I'm sure the TM people would take issue with this, but I think meditation is meditation, whether you're using a Sanskrit mantra as I do, or a word that means something to you, or you're just focused on your breath. Any kind of technique that builds a mental muscle is arguably meditation. And I just found it wonderfully productive in terms of not only my life, but my career on live TV, between the dress rehearsal and the live show for Dancing with the Stars, I would meditate in my dressing room.
Focus.
And my approach was, I'm going to be ready for anything. I've always felt so comfortable on live television, going back to the People Are Talking days and even before that, that I love that energy of what's going to happen, and I know I'm ready for it. Now, sometimes I wasn't, but on a percentage basis, I think I did pretty well.
No, I think that's so true, and that the
Yeah.
fact that you discovered that the connection that was able to sustain that and actually improve what you had, and that ability to be in control, talking to a machine for all intents and purposes. I mean, you're talking. You have an idea of what's out there. People think it's one audience of 1 million people, but it's really 1 million audiences of one person.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And there's a point at which, like, when I think about, for me, the heyday of BZ and CVB, when you and Liz and Jack and Bruce were there, or Mike over at CVB with Nat and Chet and Dick, and that the thing that I think made both of those foursomes so powerful was that you can't fake chemistry. It's either there or it isn't, and if it's not there, it's painful to watch. But if it is there, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy.
So true. So true. Yeah. I have to, we do need to pay for this show. None of us.
Oh, yeah, you go right ahead. I've got
really get paid on it, but no, you're going to be part of this while you're.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, you will. As soon as I'm done reading this breaking news from Cold Springs RV from Ware, New Hampshire. Okay, now I know you're a New Hampshire guy, Portsmouth. I don't know where you are now, but you're in New Hampshire now, in Portsmouth.
Yep.
WHEB and New Hampshire Public. So that's why we wondered if you knew where Ware was, but we'll tell you where Ware is.
Where's what?
Ware is north of Tingsboro and west of Goffstown.
Got it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Goffstown is just a little west of Manchester. So, Jim,
I'm going to Manchester. I'll be in Manchester tomorrow morning. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna show up on WHEB with the morning crew there.
That's so cool. That's
I was born in Milford, New Hampshire.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Granite Stater.
Yeah, my dad was a teacher and a coach at only for 2 years. Then we back to Massachusetts. But I got my Granite Head blood in me.
So, Bob, where were you born?
I was born in. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm not
sure. Manger, I think, was really the key.
No, or one of those cribs like Mike has in his room.
Right.
So I put this together 9 years ago for our first grandchild with an Allen wrench, and I put it together. Now I can't get it out the door. So
that's what they make axes for.
It's here every week. I don't know how to get rid of it.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Manchester, Goffstown. My kids up there, blah, blah. Okay, that's enough.
All right, go to your commercial.
Can I do this right now? And you're going to be part of this as soon as I'm done. Off-season, this is breaking news. Off-season pricing is here at Cold Springs RV. Now is the best time to buy with their end-of-season savings. So go check out the latest in new and pre-owned. And if you know the difference of the next 5 things I'm going to say, you're a camper. Pop-ups, travel trailers, fifth wheelers, and motorhomes. Is that 5? 4. Okay.
Yeah, 4.
That's all right. Well, there are a lot of words, but 4 things.
The fifth wheeler counts as 2.
I thought so too. That's exactly what I thought. And if you pop it up, you have to pop it down.
That's right.
I think.
Oh.
All right.
Imagine a newscast was like this, for an hour.
Excuse me, I'm about to finish the commercial.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks. Bob. Please excuse me.
All right.
Keep your RV secure all winter long with storage starting at just $100 a month. You might want to just live there because it'd be sure a lot cheaper than renting and buying these days. Live in your camper for $100 a month. So what if they're storing it for the winter? Protect your RV with winterizing at their Pro RV Service Center, Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
North of Tingsboro, west of Goffstown. Tell them Lobel and Lynch sent you more. And Cold Springs RV, of course, on coldspringsrv.com. So here's where Mike comes in, Tom, and I ask you this question that we ask, well, our lucky guests that get to
All right.
answer the question.
So, as you probably figured out by now, we don't pay our guests.
We don't get paid either, so
What?
don't worry about
I'm out of here.
it. Typical talent.
That's right. So, remember John Madden was afraid to fly, so we had a Madden cruiser.
Yep.
So we're trying to get Cold Springs RV to build a Lobel Lynchy cruiser,
Oh yeah.
and it is going to be state of the art.
Oh, yeah.
So we thought it would be a good idea
Shower, bathroom.
to give our guests 1 week in the Lobel Lynchy cruiser. So you could drive from New Hampshire
Yeah.
right to the Grove out in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The only problem is you have to pick somebody to ride shotgun with you. And it has to be somebody that you have had on one of your shows in your career that you think you could spend 7 days with, having a nice conversation, be entertained, laugh, have a serious conversation. Who might that be?
So it can't be my wife, obviously, right? Yeah,
Can't
that's
be.
too
Well,
easy.
Lois would be disappointed,
all
so
due
I'm
respect
happy to
to
know
her,
that you mentioned
I
her.
know a lot of people ask us the same question, and I say, it can't be your wife. It has to be somebody else.
Okay, I'll go with Aaron Andrews.
Wow.
Well, yeah, well, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah,
You may not-
purely
you may not be married.
platonically.
Of course.
You may not
Yeah.
be married when the show is posted, but EA is a pretty good one. Tell me why.
Well, because number one, we're good buddies. We have great chemistry together. I always love it when I see her. Yeah, it's just that was and I had a great relationship with Brooke and Samantha as well, but Aaron and I just clicked. It was just for me because she was so comfortable on live TV and so comfortable in sideline reporting that I never knew what was going to come out of her mouth when she was, talking to the couples up in the skybox. So it kept me on my toes. And it was always funny. And as a matter of fact, just to be more serious for a moment, my dad back in 2015 died on a show day. I found out I had been flying home. I would go to Boston, grab a rental car, go to my hometown in Haverhill, and get to the location where he was in hospice for a few weeks. And then I'd have to fly back on a Sunday and do the show. And so I missed one show that Alfonso filled in for me because it looked like it was time. And then he kind of rallied for another couple of weeks. But I got the call from Lois at 10:30 in the morning on a show day. I was in my dressing room that he had passed. And my producer at the time said, what do you want to do? I mean, you can skip the dress rehearsal if you want. I said, no. I said, you know what? I think if I focus on work and I can deal with this later. And my dad loved the show so much. And Aaron was like one of the only people who knew that I didn't want the crew to know. I didn't want the contestants to know. And she was, I'm getting choked up even reminiscing about it. She was like a rock. I mean, she just had me. And when the show got over, I didn't know what I was going to say at the very end of the show because they were going to do a full screen memorial to him at the very end. And I said, I just ad-libbed and it felt right. I said, my dad loved this show. He never missed an episode. And I'd like to think that somewhere he didn't miss this one. And we went to my dressing room, Aaron and I shut the door, and the two of us just started crying. But that's the kind of chemistry I'm talking about. It's not just the fun and laughs. It's locking arms and being a team, Yeah.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Great story, Tom. Great story.
Thank you.
Your dad named Tom as well? Is that
Ray.
Ray.
Yeah. And I always knew I was in trouble with him when I got my full first and middle name called.
Yes.
It was like, Thomas Raymond. It was like, oh, shit.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
Been there. Michael Joseph Lynch. Get
There you go. Yeah, the whole name comes out, head for the hills. Yeah.
Or shithead. They could just say, your parents could just say, hey, shithead.
Yeah.
You guys kind of touched on this. Of all the guys who were working at BZ that you knew over the years, who would be the most likely candidate to qualify for Dancing with the Stars?
Oh, that's
Russ,
a
can
good.
leave me out of it. Sorry, you can leave me out of it, Tom. Sorry, I don't mind.
All right, we're talking now. Are we talking Bob in his '80s prime for Dancing with the Stars?
That's all right.
You still want out? You know, I would have loved to see Schwegler because I could see that there probably would have been, and Bruce, you'll have to forgive me wherever you are, but I could see a lot of meltdowns.
He drove his Volkswagen convertible to the station one day in a Beetle convertible, left the top down, and it rained. And I thought that was about the funniest story I've ever heard. Here's a meteorologist. Anyway, finally gave him a window so he could look out and see what the forecast was going to be.
Well, do you know, I was at Channel 5 for close to 40 years.
Wow.
And, you know, they renovations and the weather office moves all around. Not once in the 40 years, not once was the weather office in a place that had a window. Not once. I found that so bizarre. So I came in one day from Patriots practice or something. It's 5:30, and I'm drenched. And I passed Dickie in the hallway. He goes, "Hey, Mike, is it raining outside?" The weather guy, you know, I'm soaking wet right now. I'm looking for a blow dryer and a towel so I can get ready for my hit at 6:05. And here's the weather guy asking me if it's raining.
Oh, I got a good Dick Albert story too. And again, Dick, I'm sorry, you and Bruce will have to forgive me. It was another time I was hosting the New England Emmy Awards, and Dick got an award. And I think, to be fair, and no criticism here, God knows I've had too many adult beverages at events myself. I think Dick was a little in his cups. So the acceptance speech was interminable. It just went on and on. And when he finally left the stage, I got up and I said, and the second part of Dick's speech will occur right after this.
It started in sunshine and ended in rain.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, you're a kid from Haverhill. I mean, let's go back. You're a kid from Haverhill.
Yep.
And all this happened to you, all in your lifetime. Do you ever think it was somebody else? That this happened to that this has all happened to somebody else, and I've just observed it?
That's a really good question, and that's a question that at this particular time in my life really has resonance, because I went back to Haverhill just a week and a half ago at a studio there and had a photo session that kind of chronicled my career, particularly in radio, starting at WHAV and then WHEB in Portsmouth. Then BZ, of course, I did the morning show for a couple years after Dave Maynard. And then I went on to Magic 106.7 for about 9 months before I headed off to New York. So I've been doing, and the 20th anniversary of Dancing with the Stars is this season. So I've been doing a lot of sort of callback videos and pictures on Instagram and reminiscing just about all the different aspects of my career. But to your question, Bob, yeah, sometimes I was going through old pictures yesterday here at the house in New Hampshire, and it did feel like, wow, like I was reminiscing with somebody about John Denver being on People Are Talking, and one of my favorite guests, John Denver. And we surprised him with Krista McAuliffe's students.
Oh, wow.
Because he had written a song. He was supposed to be on the Challenger.
Oh, my God.
And then she ended up taking that seat. And he wrote a beautiful song called She Was Flying for Me. And we surprised him by having her students sing that song to him on live television. And he looked at me as we were both all choked up. And he, with a smile, he said, "That's not fair." So, you know, I was reminiscing with somebody about that. And even though I know it was me that was there for that moment, it does feel in some ways it was somebody else in another life. But Yeah.
I mean,
It's
you can't talk about the people you've met and worked with without name dropping. In other words,
That's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
you're always guilty of name dropping. Same with Lynchy and myself. You
Yeah.
can't talk about Ted Williams or Bobby Orr without name dropping.
Right.
Here's what happened. People want to know about you. So, okay, I'll tell you about it, but I'm going to be a name dropper. That's the way it goes.
I'm just when you mentioned Bobby Orr and Johnny Most, I was at an event with Johnny Most back when towards the end of his life, and he had the oxygen tank. Remember, he'd be in the wheelchair. He had the oxygen tank. He was smoking a cigarette.
Of course he was.
And I said, Johnny, that can't be safe.
It's so amazing. He didn't care.
Yeah, I know.
But it was always, it's like, I'm sorry.
Did you read all the years you spent in Los Angeles? I know they didn't take the Boston sports fan out of Tom Bergeron.
No.
Were you still fiercely loyal to all your Boston teams, dealing with all those people on the West Coast out there?
Yeah, definitely. When we moved initially to when I got the job on FX, when FX first launched in '94, they were doing a lot of live shows out of New York. And I said to Lois, I said to my wife, because she wanted to go house hunting in like New Jersey and New York. I said, no, I got to stay in New England. I said, even if it's the last toenail of New England, I need to be in New England. And we ended up in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Close.
And so I'm a Red Sox fan, and to be fair, I'm a fair weather fan. Not every season, not all the time, but certainly that's where my allegiance lies. And they don't think of themselves as New Englanders there. They think of themselves as tri-state residents, right? So you got a lot of Yankees fans in Greenwich, Connecticut. So, there were a lot of quiet dinners with the neighbors sometimes.
How about when you got to the West Coast? There's more transient people out there.
Yeah. I remember I was hosting some event in LA, and I was in a hotel room at the Beverly Hilton the night the Red Sox won the World Series for the first time. And I was by myself. I was just like freaking out because the curse of the Bambino had finally been broken. And there I was, thousands of miles away, having a personal party.
Listen, now, forgive me for mentioning this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
forgive me for mentioning this. This is just a personal note. My daughter lives in L.A. and does stand-up comedy there.
Really?
And I think that is the most incredible job. That I think the most difficult thing that you could possibly do is stand up in front of people and try to make them laugh.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So it's just, I just thought it was kind of cool. I wasn't going to let you go without at least mentioning.
No, and I would love to see her in action.
Yeah, well, I think she's pretty good. I mean, I know she's my daughter, but I think she's pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you what, once we wrap this up, I want to find out, where she's performing and how to get in touch.
Okay, well, good luck to me for trying to tell you that, because, she's go ahead. It's all right. That's a different thing.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast.
Bob, you made a career out of stand-up comedy, standing up and have people laugh at you. So
no, we're supposed to laugh, not laugh at you, Mike.
With you.
No, you're right.
Got it.
Thank you. Good.
Tough room.
Hey, let me get this one in for George Gray's Lexington Toyota before we let you go.
Straight up.
Hey, if you're looking for a new vehicle, go where Lobel and Lynchy go. Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know that George Gray will treat you right. They're family-owned and operated dealership that we trust and you can trust as well. Go see the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him, at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. You were with him last night, weren't you, Lobie?
I was with him last night and actually name dropped Tom Bergeron. I dropped his name. Yep, and the people around this, sitting around the table really thought that was Shaughnessy was there. And just named out. No, Tom Bergeron. Really?
Oh, that's
nothing.
Yeah, that's good. Right there.
Hey, look at that! Hey, this Bobby Orr picture just popped up in front of me.
He was with some guy who used to play hockey, I think.
That's great.
I was just thinking while you're reading that spot, Mike, I'm sure some of the fine automotive technicians there could maybe take apart that crib.
They probably could. I am never touching an Allen wrench again because I couldn't straighten out my fingers for a month afterwards. Every little thing is with that stupid thing that's this big. And maybe we can get one of our listeners can volunteer to come over and take it apart. You can have it and take it away if you'd like.
There you go. The crib that our daughter Jessica got when she was born in 1988. Bob, you'll never guess who gave me the crib. Liz Walker.
Oh, come on.
Really?
Yep.
Did she use it before you did?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Of course, everybody thought I was the father of her child.
Yes. That's because that's how good the chemistry was, boys and girls, of that anchor team.
It was. Every speaking engagement I would go out on, I'd say, all right, let's do questions and answers now. And I know what the first question is going to be. Are you the father of Liz Walker's baby? I said, no. And B, there's nothing going on between Natalie and Dickie. So let's move on to our questions after that. And, that always got a big roar and a big laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's probably a little disrespectful. I'm sorry, Liz.
Well, that's really interesting that she gave you her
Yep. That was very sweet.
She's not, she's a minister now. She wrote a book.
I know.
That's why she wasn't at the reunion, because she was out doing a book signing. And Jack Williams is in Las Vegas. His wife's really sick. And
I'm sorry. Would you please give them my best when you talk to them?
I absolutely will. I talk to him about once a month on the phone, and we have a lot of good laughs about, things like Ed Berger with a turkey on the set, and just
my God! Remember Chris Cananglo when the seal died over at the Boston Aquarium? Poor Chris. He had never. I forget the name of the talking seal, but he had never heard the sound of this seal talking, and he's reading the obit on live television on BZ, and they start pumping in this. This talking seal, and Chris goes up and can't get it back and just is dying laughing, and it is some of the best television I've ever seen.
It's like Chuckles the Clown and Mary.
Yes, very much like that. Yeah. A little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants. Yeah.
And everybody, Mary can't stop from laughing, and
right.
What's on the horizon for you coming up? And you said you had some traveling going on. What can
I do a little traveling, doing some stuff in LA next month. Again, the Dick Van Dyke audiobook I just did, that'll be coming out soon. There he is. There's my buddy. And that, by the way, that was a week after my dad died, that book signing. He and Arlene asked if I could do it over at the Barnes and Noble at the Grove. And Dick was so sweet. I said to him, this is good medicine for me because my dad just died last week. And Dick Van Dyke looks at me and goes, "I'll be your dad." Like, okay.
All right.
Yeah, you had a great relationship with him.
Yeah. And still do. The book, he's so wonderfully self-effacing in this book. I got to the chapter about, and he makes fun of his own Cockney accent in Mary Poppins, right? So we and let's face it, justifiably so. I got to that chapter, and I texted, I think, Arlene, his wife, and I said, should I do a bad Cockney accent too? And I guess, for authenticity purposes, hello, Mary Poppins, that guy. And Dick said, here he was surrounded by Brits. They shot it in England. He said they were all too polite to tell me that the Cockney accent wasn't really working. But that's part of its charm, I think.
Step in time.
Have you done any genealogy on your family, and where do you think you got, fair question, where do you think you got your talent from?
Well, I don't know about that. I did do an episode. There's a show called Who Do You Think You Are that they do it in conjunction with Ancestry.com. And they did an episode with me back in 2015, which happily we got to watch with my dad in my childhood home just a couple months before he passed. And it was his side of the family that had been the source of the story. We ended up going to Paris and La Rochelle, France, and turns out a great grandmother on his side named Marguerite Ardillon was one of the filles de war, the daughters of the king, who went over to what was then called New France, we now know as Canada, to help populate this, quote, new land. The indigenous people might take issue with that, but that was the belief. And so I'll go with her. She must have been a cut up. Let's go with Marguerite Ardillon.
No, I think it's really, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from, it just doesn't come from a lightning bolt. I mean, maybe in some cases it does. I mean, I just don't wake up and be funny.
And I do remember like the first time I opened the microphone at WHAV when I was 17 years old, and my heart was beating like a jackhammer, that opening it for the first time, thinking I'm going to tell a joke and knowing that it just laid a big egg right in front. As a matter of fact, that Monday, the following Monday after my first radio show, I was walking down the hall at Haverhill High School, and this little cluster of jocks were there, and one of them yelled out, "Hey, Bergeron, I heard you on the radio." I went, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "You sucked." He wasn't wrong, by the way. But it's like over time, I've told students over the years, one of the hardest things, if you're not an actor doing a role, if you're in a hosting or that type of situation, one of the hardest things you're going to learn is how to be yourself, to get rid of all the artifice, to get rid of all of the whatever technique you think you have to have, to get down to who you are so that the viewer or the listener can connect with you, in some way. Because you can smell it. I mean, if someone's being phony, you can smell it.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
And we always think that we're a special region in the country, but especially in this market here, they can tell a phony within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you mispronounce Worcester or Gloucester, they're done.
The first night I was on the air in Portsmouth on HEB, instead of saying the Piscataqua River, I said the Piscataqua. The phones lit up. Yeah.
That's been great, Tom. It was so much fun talking to you today. And
my treat. I just looked out at the clock. This was a fast hour, guys.
Yeah, it was great. And a funny one too. And not only that, it had poignant moments as well. It was great.
Yeah, and I have such warm memories of my time at BZ, at the range of things that I was able to do and the people that I was able to work in the company of, you, Bob, and Liz, and Jack G, and hanging out with Larry Glick over at WBZ Radio, who I adored that guy.
Of course.
It's just, Dave Maynard and all the people from that era that on the radio side, I grew up listening to.
LaPierre.
Yeah, just the best. Just the best.
I agree. Just the best. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of us so lucky to have done what we did at the time that we did it.
Yes, absolutely right. Because, local TV is not what it was then. Right. And for so many reasons that would be another podcast, but I think we got the best of it.
No question.
Great job, Tom. Thanks.
My friend Tom, thank you so much. We treasured this hour. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Me too. Awesome. An absolute joy. And now that I know I'm not getting paid for it, I'll deal with that.
You're going cross country in the Lobel Lynch cruiser.
I love that. Yeah, just make sure it's all cleaned out before I get in, okay?
Make sure it's all cleaned out when you get out.
Fair enough.
See you later,
folks,
buddy.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you check us out on UnAnchoredBoston.com, and make sure you check us out on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week, everyone.